Now that we know how to identify extrema, either finding a maximum or minimum point with Desmos, we want to look at applying some applications and some context to those points to discuss what those values mean in the context of a given problem. First, we'll look at a couple of applications in science. In example 3, a ball thrown upward at 19.6 meters per second from the top of a building 30 meters high can be modeled by this given function, where t is the number of seconds after the ball was thrown. We want to find and interpret the vertex of this function. So switching over to Desmos, we can input our given function, and then we just need to adjust our viewing window until we can see where that minimum or maximum point occurs. In this case, we have a vertex, which is the same thing as a turning point, which is the same thing as either a maximum or minimum. In this case, we have a vertex which makes an absolute maximum at the point 2, 49.6. So we've identified where that vertex occurs, which in this case is both a local and an absolute maximum. What we want to do now is apply some context or some interpretation to what that point tells us. Our value t is the number of seconds after the ball is thrown, and s is giving us the height of the ball. So this maximum tells us, since it's an absolute maximum, that after t equals 2 seconds, the ball reaches its maximum height, of 49.6 meters. In example 4, we're told that the rate of photosynthesis, R, for a certain plant depends on the intensity of light in lumens, according to this given model. We want to find and interpret the vertex of this function. Again, a vertex is just the same idea as finding a maximum or minimum, specifically with a quadratic function. So entering in our quadratic function, we get a very narrow parabola in this case. If we want, we could go into that wrench icon to modify our min and max values for x to get a slightly better picture of what's happening with that graph. But really, we just need to click on our graph to identify that that maximum, which in this case again is an absolute maximum, occurs at 1, 80. If our absolute maximum is occurring at the point x equals 1, y equals 80, then what that's telling us again in this case is that the maximum rate of photosynthesis occurs when the light intensity is 1 lumen. So let's distinguish there, that's the number 1 lumen. So we always want to make sure that we can identify what a minimum or maximum value tells us in context about the problem we're considering. And what that's going to mean is reading through the information in the word problem to determine what our value in this case for x is referring to and what our value for r is referring to, and then providing an interpretation based off that xy coordinate pair as it relates to those two variables.